Okay, so now I'll be explaining the project in full detail. So let's begin. In the city planner, we can choose the city we are in the area where we want to plan our smart city. Okay, so I'm gonna choose a familiar place for this one. Let's go with, mm, let's say I choose this place with a little vegetation here, this park, and let's generate map. It'll take some time. So I'll just pause the video for a while. So here we have got our results. So I'll be explaining you. So as we can see, we have gotten an overview map of the land use and land cover. So basically, this map doesn't represent any vegetation. It represents the urban. So basically, it classifies the urban area. So let me go through you the info which we are representing. The blue color here represents the water. Purple color represents road. Yellow color is representing the buildings. And the black color is representing vacant areas that can be used for development. And uncolored area is not a part of urban demographic. So we are also considering it as a vacant area. So let's zoom it and I'll show you. Yep. So let it load. Here we can see the proper area, like the yellow part here are the buildings, and the red part are basically the roads and all the stuff that wouldn't be used for any land which we are going to build. So let's move on to the next one. So this is a bit more detailed than the previous one, and it covers various aspects like vegetation and urban classification. So basically, I'll be showing you all of this layer by layer. Okay, so let me first uncheck all the parameters we are doing. Okay. So let's first begin with grouped LULC. So this LULC, basically grouped LULC, is the land use land cover, which is given to us by the Google Earth engine. So basically, this is marking the area. Like I'll show you what kind of area it is marking: water, forest, and cities. Uh, okay, so the blue part here is representing the vegetation, and the orange is representing area, which is a mixture of vegetation and urban. Like there are houses with a little greenery in them, like that. And the red is the red color is representing the proper urban area, like the cluttered colonies and all the stuff. And the gray area represents the vacant areas that could be considered as barren land. So the issue with this data is that there is missing data and there are several outliers. So we need to work on that part. So what we did is we classified this LULC. So I'll be showing you classified LULC. So as I've already explained that there were several outliers and missing values. So what we did is we performed uh, classification on them and classified it to get the type of uh, so basically the classified LLC gave us a proper values, like gave us Like let me compare it with group one. Group 10 you will see give us just a rough estimate, like there is something like the yellow part, there is a medium of both vegetation and the urban area. But what classified LLC does is that it gives us a proper estimation about the land cover. So let's move on to the NDVI. So NDVI is a normalized difference vegetation index, which is calculated using infrared. So basically, the area which has a higher forest density, like higher vegetation, tends to have lower infrared. Like basically, if we see in the heat map, we can see that forests have the area with the larger forest cover has lesser infrared, and the urban area are more orange or give more heat. So basically, they are a lot more highlighted in the infrared map. So basically, NDVI gives us the numerical indicator that shows us the presence of vegetation on the earth. So what this vegetation density is doing is that it is using the NDVI values to just colorize the map. Uh, so this is basically a rough estimate. So what we are doing is we are performing more classification on this NDVI, and this classification is performed using vegetation density class. So as we can see, the data gets more clear in this image. So basically, this data goes from gray color to dark green color, in which the gray color is representing no plants or very little plants, and the dark green is representing a proper forest cover. Okay, so let's go on to the vegetation severity. The vegetation severity is just a measure of like how bad an area is lacking vegetation, healthy vegetation, like proper urban area, colonies and all, lacking the greenery. Now let's move on to the AQI part. Uh, okay, so here we're getting AQI is 124, which is we can see unhealthy for sensitive groups. So we are given suggestions and improvements, and also what could be the cause of this higher AQI. So at last we are getting a report basically on the data that we just saw. So here we can see the water is 0.07, which is very less, and it's not even properly represented. The vacant area is 26.2%, building 21.94, and roads 51.76. And here we're getting a quality report. So we had plans to make a proper AI generated report that we could even generate a PDF form of it, but due to shortage of time, we weren't able to complete it. So that's the future aspect of the project. So right now, this is a full project. Thanks for watching.
Hey there. So I am here to explain you the project. So code of the project basically. So our code is divided into like the major two parts, front end and back end. The front end is very fancy as we have all seen by now, but there is like nothing to explain in the front end part. Like it's just consists of routing and all basic stuff. So now let's talk about the heart of our project, or basically the logic that we have implemented. So as you can see that here, our project consists of mainly like uh, 3 to 4 files that are of peak importance. So let us discuss the main file that we have, that is app.py. So like this is the file where we have rerouted the things and all. So this is the basic stuff like importing the dependency that we are needed, loading the environment and all, initializing the project, and with the Google engine that we are using to generate the earth to get the coordinates we are all using here. This is just used to initialize the Flask app and all. Yeah, so and this, yeah, the two routing that we have is like, see, we have seen earlier. One is for the urban part and another one is for the vegetation part. And actually, there is one thing to tell. The urban here doesn't means like the urban and rural partition that we have in our society. It's generally represent the land area owned by the humans, or the wherever the development has been taken place, excluding the forest. And so yeah, the main idea that we were using is just clicking on the map that was present there and getting the latitude and longitude. And yeah, this is the request that we are making to the function here. We'll see later. So yeah, we are just printing it all and generating the map later on. So now, yeah, this is the vegetation part, and I'll explain those code later on. So no need to worry. Mm, what else we can explain here? Yeah, this is the like just basic try catch stuff. Like we are trying to get, if their error exists, then just accept throw exception. And yeah, this is the percentage stuff, the image that we have shown you in the further, like how we have classified the urban lands, uh, that will be shown here. So basically, if I tell you the basic layout of this app.py, just some front end stuff, initializing the Flask API, Flask app, then just calling the function, generating the map, and returning the result to the front end. So just basic stuff here. So now let's talk about the first functionality that we have. It was the urban classification that we have. So as we have had the layered map architecture, we just imported it. The lat longitude that we have chosen. So what it will do is, yeah, this is the defining the area of interest. Area of interest is generally the area, the block that we were seeing in the map, for which we will classify. Yeah, this all I have told you, that how we have taken the image. We have chosen starting point, ending point. Then the satellite image during those duration, we have used some filters, and this is the duration that we have to generate the images. Uh, then what we have done is, yeah, this is the grouping of the land use and land cover that we have already discussed. So grouping has been done in order to like in order of vegetation, the lands we have, and the other part. So here are the some numbers. So basically, this number represent the particular structure that we have built, like zero for water, one for land, and we have just basically assigned the four colors to it, as we have already seen it. So this is where we are extracting the building and all, the images that we were generating, the colored image. So this part of the code deals with that. It's just the pre-processing stuff. So here, as you can see, that we are using that the images that we took, those satellite images. Yeah, the water and the vacant area, just grouping them like the color which we were using, like uh, blue, red, yellow, and all. So yeah, after that we are just running it on. So basically, we don't didn't have time to try to classify it as properly as we can. So we just use the random forest classifier, and we just set its depth to like 150 nodes. Yeah, the number of tree 150, and just restricting the leaf population to the 5, because we don't have time to implement or optimize, like to run different classification model and check for which it runs perfectly. So we just use some like our go-to one, that is random forest classifier, and it's pretty good for the image classification as well. So we used it to represent the color and all. Then train test split is 70/30, less than and greater than. So train on 70% and then testing on 30%. So yeah, the color visualization, as you can see, the color has been here. Black represent background, roads, building, water, vacant. Gray represent vacant. As we have already seen all of this stuff in our website. Then display map, just displaying it. So yeah, this is the just the urban classification part, the one which we see just after clicking on the location. Then next, what we have is the vegetation part. this part of the code just deals with like the greeneriness of the particular area of interest that we are looking onto. So here, what we can see, the basic outline of the code is simple. Like we are using the layered map architecture to just represent the map, and what we are further doing is classifying it accordingly. So here also what we can see is this is the same from the previous code, like taking the image and then sampling it to get it properly for the model. And yeah, here what we to get the greeniness, we use the NDVI indexes. What it does is basically it it is a measure of the greeniness of a particular area, and it is generally calculated through the satellite images. And what we do here is generally it is an infrared sort of test, like whether if there is a plant or vegetation body present there, the heat dissipation or the redness would be pretty much less. So through because it is an unsupervised data set, like we are using the image, okay. So to classify the unsupervised data set, we have to classify it on some parameters. So here we are using NDVI indexes. So yeah, the we are marking first the low vegetation area or the less than 0.1, and then yeah, this is the same as the previous group. As we are training our model on the grouped LULC, because it would be because it has the classification of the landmass that we are using properly. Like it contains both the vegetation as well as the human builded stuff. Um, See, this is the basic stuff like we are talking repeatedly about the color that we use to represent it, the LULC one. Here also we use the random forest classifier with like 150 nodes, same as the previously, splitting in a 70/30. Um, and now, yeah, also for the evaluation, we just use the confusion matrix. We thought of trying the ROC AOC curve, but actually we don't have time for optimizing it that much because we were thinking of implementing the much useful stuff beforehand. So now let us talk about this. Yeah, this is yeah for vegetation density. We are using the NDVI as I have told you earlier to classify it. It generally represents the amount of greenery that the map or the area of interest we have. So it classifies from gray to dark green. It's quite obvious. So yeah, that's up to this part. And yeah, the vegetation density part all are classified via NDVI, and all have different aspect of representation. Like for the smart city idea, these were the major consideration, because as we have seen in the recently, like in the Hyderabad incident that is happening, right, demolishing of the forest. So this thing is pretty much important because it represents the proper idea of like whether to churn that area or not. So now let us talk about the last part. Yeah, the this is the major thing, like the color classification, like how we are classifying the color of the image, like how we are calculating the percentage. So initially, what we decided is to use the just OpenCV, just like casting the image and then uh, converting the image into RGB or HVC file, or trying to extract the color based on the ranges that we have previously decided, or the colors that we have previously decided. But actually, it was not that much accurate. So we decided to go with the k-mean clustering, because it's pretty much obvious that clustering of a unsupervised data is well done using k-mean. So basically, we have to reshape our data, and we have imported the Flask app. In the Flask app we have imported it, and yeah, here we are using the RGB parameters. Like just we are just tempering this on the basis of RGB values of the particular image point that we have, and it's pretty much efficient, right? So that's the stuff. And this is the call which this is the API call, API data.py. This is generally the API thing that we were using. It's just using a LLM to fetch the details, and this is the prompt that we used. So also we were short of time in implementing the PDF reports, but it will we will implement it after the hackathon is over. So basically, this is the much, and thank you all.